One must wonder why Fu Su, with the status of being the oldest son and also having the support of the general Meng Tian with 300,000 strong Qin soldiers at the Great War, would commit suicide so easily. Given the circumstances stated above, it would most likely that he was not surprised with his father's orders to have him killed due to his true blood. In order to suppress the external influence of Chu, Qin Shi Huang, the ruler who aimed to create a dynasty that would last 10,000 generations, would leave such an important position undecided. This inaction would be an important factor for Qin's quick demise. An analysis of this story. Lü Buwei took the opportunity of Huayang Furen's influence and lacking a son to bring Ying Yiren to the throne. The 6 other warring states tried to use a million lives and amazing thinkers like Mencius to find a way to resist the might of the great Qin military force. Lü Buwei only needed to go through the pathway of the outer relatives to mobilize the entire Qin court. This reminds one of the parable told by Zhuangzi of the Taoist camp of thinkers, where the butcher told the king that most good chefs needed to change their knives every year due to wear and tear, while he had been using the same one for 19 years. The king asked him how, to which the butcher proudly stated that he always went along the path of least resistance within the anatomy of the cow. Another important point to note is that weakness in family struggles was more often than not an advantage. Ying Yiren's mother, Xia Ji, was a consort with no status. Had she been the second most favorite of An Guojun, Lü Buwei would have had difficulty to maneuver Ying Yiren to be the adopted son of Huayang Furen. What Lü Buwei took advantage of was the vulnerability residing in the court through the influence of the outer relatives. Qin Shi Huang's unification of China was more than just conquering geographically the regimes of the other warring states. He also wanted to keep the vulnerability of the outer relatives to a minimum by eliminating its influence in his own immediate household. However, such cleansing proved to be fatal to Qin's own regime. The Qin vassal state had existed since around 1000 BC, but quickly dissolved within 15 years of unification of China. One could argue that Qin Shi Huang's unification was in fact a destruction of the noble class from the Zhou dynasty, which he and his Ying family was a member. With a centralized bureaucratic system, none of the officials around the country had any incentive to fight for the survival of the Qin regime. By being highly suspicious of the true influence in his court, Qin Shi Huang failed to name his most eligible son Fu Su to be heir to his throne. Such uncertainty allowed Li Si and Zhao Gao to stage a coup d'etat and put the mad Hu Hai as emperor. This would also prove to be fatal for the young Qin Empire. Such is the irony of history. What Qin Shi Huang thought to be his rivals, the other noble families with whom his family had had marital relations for generations, were in fact the stabilizing force for the Ying family to remain in power, at least in his own region in Shanxi. Finding the balance between the monopolization of power by the emperor while maintaining a wide enough support base for the regime would continue to be the main cause of historical events throughout Imperial China.